Welcome to Champions of Change Corner. Hi, I'm Tiffany. I provide quick tips and idea nuggets to help you with proven sales, marketing, and business development strategies, along with a little sprinkle of leadership concepts so that you can inspire change, impact lives, and improve outcomes for the aging, their families, and your teams. Whether you already own a business or work in senior living, home health, home care, or any other service-related business focused on improving the lives of the aging, or maybe you would like to. If your mission is to serve them, my mission is to serve you. After spending years in senior living and home health, I have become a passionate advocate for the aging and those who support them. Every week, I promise to help you gain the tools, the knowledge, and resources to improve your bottom line, whether that is for your personal career growth or business goals. It is your time to be inspired, gain practical tips, and own your future. Let's get started.
Hello, dear listeners. Have you ever worn a pair of shoes that just didn't fit right? Yeah, so that's what I've been feeling lately about the podcast name Champions of Change Corner. Yes, we are Champions of Change. Yes, that is still the name of the blog, but it just didn't feel like a good fit. It's been like trying to squeeze into those skinny jeans after a big meal. Yeah, but don't worry, because we've got a new name. And that name is as perfect as a slice of pizza on a Friday night. You guys know how much I love my pizza now. Us New Yorkers don't give that up. The new name of the podcast is, drumroll please, Start with Occupancy. Some of you may have seen that I've been putting things out about it. And the reason for it is because everything that we do in the senior living and actually senior care space, we may call it census, but it's still the same thing. Whether it is your census or whether it is your occupancy, we have to really look at who we're serving so that we can have the right strategies in place. Everything starts with occupancy. And so that is our new name. To be honest, I don't think that anyone was really that committed to Champions of Change Corner as a name, but Start with Occupancy is our new brand. And our brand is so aligned with our mission. And it's not just the podcast that is renamed, but our Facebook page now. If you look up Start with Occupancy, that's where you can find us. And on Instagram, the only thing that's going to remain Champions of Change Corner is the blog, which I have not updated as of yet because I have so many other things that we're doing, but it will be, and it'll be coming to you weekly. So come on over, check out the new digs, look at the fresh new coat of paint, and thanks for being a listener, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Now, what I'm doing is playing some old episodes that were recorded but never released. And one of them is with one of my faves, Cameron Barker. So stay tuned so that you can hear all of what IMG Complete and Cameron Barker has to say about senior living and social media.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on the podcast today.
For sure.
I just want to let the listeners know that you are Cameron Barker with IMG Complete. And I don't want to spoil anything. I want you to be able to tell everybody exactly what you do, how you do it, and all the great little nuggets that you have to offer for those who are in the senior living space. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm originally from the Palm Bay area. However, when I was younger, I traveled the world. My dad was in the military, but I say I'm from Palm Bay, Florida. I grew up here since young. And since young, I was really into education. I thought for sure I was going to be a teacher for my whole life. So I ended up going to UCF. Why, do you have a similar? You didn't? Yeah, so you learned something. So I originally started off at UCF, where that's where I was going to school for. Things didn't work out there. Ended up going to UMass, graduating from there. And then I did teach for 1 year. However, I got into just management. While I was teaching, I was doing a lot of curriculum development. I sat on the council. And so I was working heavily into the just changing like out of old paradigm and transitioning into like new type of education and teaching so kids can learn in a different way. So I did that, and then I got right into management consulting and kind of transitioned into like the collegiate space. While I was there, I was a management consultant. Not only were we implementing different software applications and helping colleges in that way, but I personally worked with, say, the web developers and the video guys and social media managers in rolling out certain initiatives, and did that for a while and absolutely loved it. And I was like, you know what? I can do this for myself, and just kind of never looked back. And here I am like 13 years later in that space.
Nice. So tell us a little bit about, because I'm hearing you talking about that space and I hear web design, I hear videos, I hear like a lot of what sounds like social media stuff, but maybe a little bit more. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you do today with IMG Complete?
Yes, absolutely. So we're a nationwide full service digital marketing agency. So what that looks like and how we separate ourselves, you have a lot of, web design companies, and that's all they do. You have a lot of social media companies, or you have a video production company. As a full service agency, we do everything in the house. So we're pretty much a one-stop shop. I would definitely say our concentration is in target marketing through social media using custom content. And what that essentially looks like is we sit down. It's pretty much broken up in three steps. We have a strategy where we sit down and we identify like different campaigns we're going to run. What are your key messages? What is your ideal target audience? And then we create content. Step number two, we go out with our media team, shoot all the content that's associated with those key messages that are going to really speak to that end user and that intended target audience. And then we deploy that content, which is step three. And the way we deploy the content is we run ads on social media. So if you're a B2B, then you will leverage platforms like LinkedIn and run ads on LinkedIn. And if it's a lot of B2C stuff for our clients, then we'll do a lot of campaigns on Facebook, Instagram. So in a nutshell, that's what we're a full service digital marketing agency that focuses on target marketing through social media using custom content.
Got you. Got you. What's so interesting is how I found you is because of one of your ads, I think you did for one of your clients in senior living. And it was nothing like I've ever seen before. And I got so excited because I have been beating this drum of how more senior living communities and companies operators need to really harness the power of social media for their marketing and sales efforts and for their messaging. And so in contacting you, I was super, super excited and wanted to reach out because, and then in talking with you now, even you did it in other areas, but what brought you to senior living? How did that develop?
Oh, great question. So I absolutely love the senior living space. Like any industry, you always have your first one, and then the process is always a little skeptical. Have you ever did a senior living facility? And then we always have the same rebuttal. I never completed a golf and yacht club project until I did my first one, but marketing's pretty much marketing. You have that key message, and then you know your intended audience, and you create the content that's going to relate to them. I was super confident that we could do it. So long story short, we got into the senior living space. But what really made the difference for me and my team was actually working with the residents. So that was the game changer. Like something about working with those residents and hearing those stories and getting to interact with them, like we could play games with them. And we really got into it. And we get into all our projects, but it's just a little bit different. Like we say if we have an insurance client, for example, like you're in their office, 30 employees, and they're selling insurance. And it's pretty straightforward, and don't get me wrong, they need marketing as well, right? But when you're dealing with the residents at a senior living place, there's something magical that happens. And so we just instantly fell in love. And then we were like, you know what, this is the space we really want to double down on, because it's just the joy that we feel when doing this type of work. And at the end of the day, if you've ever met our team, then you would understand that, that work-life balance is super important. So to be happy while you do your passion is like a high priority for us. And so we try to pick the space that complements that.
Wow. I understand, and from what you're saying, that you really got to connect with the residents, and that's what really and help you to identify a new passion and what it's doing, because you was already doing it professionally with other companies.
Yeah, since 2009. So absolutely. So we're super heavy into like the home security space.
Okay.
We work with like the largest ADT authorized provider in the world. And so we do a lot of home security. We do a lot of insurance, real estate, super heavy. We're in a few different industries, but again, there's something about interacting with residents that just really resonated with us. And so we've been working in the senior living space going on 4 years now.
Nice, nice. And you tell me if I'm wrong, but just in my experience in 9 years in senior living, there's not a lot of operators who are really, really aggressive, I should say, or creative, I should say, in getting their messaging out there on social media. What are your thoughts with your experience with working with different operators? Maybe your first one, and how did you do that for them?
That's how we got in. They noticed us that we were running for other companies in the county. And so their marketing and communications manager was like, man, these guys, they're always on social. They run ads, and every client they represent, you always see their brand, always in my timeline. Like, how do you do that? And so it's like this magical, a lot of people don't know about target marketing. And it's usually just up until recently, is typically a skill set that only huge, large companies have because of their marketing team that they had in house and knew how to really run ads. So essentially what we do is if you ever go online and say shop for like shoes or gym equipment or anything, and then next thing you know, when you're on Facebook or LinkedIn or any of the social platforms you cruise on, YouTube, what have you, then those products show up in your timeline in the format of ads. Just saying, hey, remember me? You were looking at this and now I'm just here to remind you. So that's what we do. We do targeting and retargeting. And no one in the senior living space was really doing that. I really think is because a lot of them really depend on like third party referral services. A lot of times decision makers in that space. Yep. A
Yes.
lot of times, yes. And that's a whole conversation
Yes.
I'm sure we'll get into. But a lot of them just their decision making executive team really just come from a space to where, as far as what I noticed, to where they really work from a paradigm is just a few years outdated. And I noticed that the senior living space hasn't really had a heavy influence on a modern way to market. And I think there's another stereotype where we obviously have data that proves this completely wrong, but there's also a stereotype that the people shopping for senior living services, usually, as you know, is the children of the residents. The senior living executives don't think that they're on social media.
Which
They
is
think social media, oh, it's completely wrong. And it's growing every day, record
yes.
numbers. They think it's associated with the younger demographic, and they couldn't be more wrong. Right now, Facebook is our number one friend for generating leads for our senior living partners.
That's really interesting because I remember having a very robust conversation with one of the companies I work for about their lack of influence in in social media. And I remember at that time even mentioning Instagram. And I knew all of my friends, and I was late on Instagram, and I'll admit that was a choice. But I knew if I had a business, which I have now, I'm on Instagram, right? Because there is a whole huge market, with that and with the growth of that. But since I have been on, I have found so many of that demographic and actually resident demographic on Instagram with huge followings, something like 345,000 followers. This woman is like 73 years old and
It's
she's talking
amazing.
about the art of living at that age and losing weight. And it's just so amazing. And I'm thinking in my head, why isn't an independent living operator connecting with her and talking about the things that she's talking about and how that person can do that living in their community?
Absolutely. No, you hit it right on the head, Tiffany. That's influencer marketing 101. Individuals online, whether they are individuals or companies who are associated with the target audience that you are trying to target, and then you leverage their network. And so that's influencer marketing 101. And even with that said, there's still not a lot of influencers in this space. But you mentioned that one isolated example, and that would be an ideal person to say, hey, look, I represent the community and we would love to leverage your network. Here's an incentive that we would like to offer you. Let's create a win-win. And so we really negotiate those deals on behalf of our partners, and a lot of their marketing and communication directors and executive directors, they never even heard of influencer marketing. They're not even aware of targeted marketing as far as running ads on social. You'll be surprised because we really leverage the algorithms of these social platforms. So if you're running, like, say, a Google ad campaign and there's people searching, and you can have a presence from a search standpoint. But now once you tap into the fact that people are actually looking for what you're offering, you can now send your message directly in front of them. So think about how impactful that is, opposed to like the old way of marketing where people are sending mailers to like zip codes, and like we call that old school blanket marketing. And I hear you are wasting all this money because that flyer is going into that 23-year-old kid who's renting that house. He's like, I don't need this. So this another thing is we're a huge fan of having a return path, right? So TV, radio, stationery like mailers and magazine, there's no return path. Like in order for them to take action, they have to literally either memorize the phone number or take out a pen and write it down, or take out a phone and call it right away. The fast pace like we live in, that never happens.
Right.
Yeah. So with us, the technology that we leverage, if someone watches a video for even say just the first 20%, we then can track that. So now we know they're engaged, they are interested. Now we can send them additional videos down the road. So now there's a clear return path because all they have to do is click on the link and now they're on our website. Again, we can track that as well. So once they land on our landing page that we routed them to, we can track that as well. So now we can retarget them with even more specific ads. So everything's trackable. We can track every click, every view. There's a return path for every user who engages with your content. And with that type of data and metrics, the decisions you can make and be informed are through the roof. So now you're being more efficient with your targeting. You're being more efficient with the audience that's segmented. You see what audience member likes what piece of content. And then you can now say, okay, they're interested. Let's send them more information. So using data and metrics is really what we thrive off of. And once you really know what you're doing, it really makes it simple. You just look at the number. Every ad we run, we do what's called A/B testing. And so we'll send out an ad in two different versions, and we'll send it to the same audience, and we'll see which ad resonates more with that audience. Then once we run our test, we'll say, okay, this one's working better, this ad version B. Let's stop the budget for ad A, reallocate it to B, and then really scale that ad campaign. And so the data is just so impressive as far as what you can do. And you just can't do that with TV, radio, or stationary work.
No, you're absolutely right. And the thing is that it's so funny you say that because in senior living, they're very metrics driven. Like I know like how many leads need to come in, for how many phone calls need to go out, to how many people we would convert over. Like everything is all metrics driven. And so it always amazed me how we could be as an industry so metrics driven when it comes to the granular salesperson at the community, but not as driven when it comes to the marketing. And some people probably, well, what does she mean by that? But because they're doing their jobs. But listen, I work for the largest place senior living company, and we were doing mail outs with gift cards to Walmart. And so then at the community level, we were getting all these people coming in because they wanted that $25 gift card because they had to come in to get it, but it didn't convert over as well. It was branding, but how much more money could, or how much more of a return on their investment could have happened if they did something that was really specific and targeted, like what you're talking about with
absolutely
engaging video. Not that it's like corporate, this, that, and other, and let's highlight just this, but truly engaging storytelling, impactful video.
Oh, Tiffany, you hit it right on it. And nothing is conveying stories like video nowadays. Like a stationary flyer can only convey so much. Usually it's like a stock photo they grabbed off Google and they put some font and text and just think about the senses involved. Like something about a video when you're scrolling, you're touching, then you have the audio, then you have visual. So it's super interactive and it's super engaging. And people identify, they want to shop at a place to where they can identify with the content. So if you are very strategic when you're creating your content and you use language and individuals that your intended audience can relate to, then they're just going to receive that message in the format of stories, even more so than just a flyer. And the thing about it is so much more affordable. Like we have data, like we can get a view from think about
Right?
that. Like you can't even print a flyer. Like you can't even buy one sheet of paper.
Listen, I used to do the budget for that, and it's a lot. Like to do the folder that you put the stuff in, one box, 500 of them, something like $780. It got to the point, I know when I was in a community, I did everything digitally, only if they asked. Because I knew there was a cost. And if I could save that cost, then I could put more money into my events where I could be in front of people or to promotions to my referral sources that were local. I could reallocate those funds and not spend it on, I would call nonsense. I mean, you can stop some people that are old school, but you could easily email it and make them print it off. You ask the question, right? But if you could spend that money on things like what you're doing, which I think is really more impactful when it comes to branding, when it comes to if you're doing certain stories, it can help put in somebody's mind why they need to call you. You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. Yeah. And what you mentioned as far as saying, so let's address two things, cost and then branding, right? From a cost standpoint, the old traditional way of blanket marketing, the ROI, the lifespan is so limited. Like, so the stationary, say the mail outs you do, you send out a wave for say 6 months straight. What happens when you stop paying for that mail outs because you're not getting the results you wanted? Your money is literally down the drain now 4 months later after your last campaign. Like no one's holding on to the flyers. People throw them away or whatever.
exactly.
The thing about content, more specifically video content, the video that you pay for in 2020, 3 years, 4 years down the road, as people start to return to your Facebook page and your website, those videos are still going to resonate with certain individuals. So in other words, those videos are still working for you, telling your message. So that's from a cost standpoint. Videos you pay for today will work for you forever because content's forever. So cost wise, the ROI metrics for targeted marketing and more specifically digital marketing in general, like the ROI is through the roof. Now, from a branding standpoint, that kind of ties into the storytelling that you were saying. You can really create a brand so easily when you leverage videos. So I'm sure your company, they'll have, like, say, a series where it's like a certain type of video. It can be like tips from the pros, like Golf and Yacht Club or whatever. So every week, the golf pro will come on and they'll give you like a certain tip of the day. And so you can create stories, which is such great branding tools. You just can't really do that with stationery. So cost wise is better because it's going to work harder and longer. And then branding, you can have more impact on your storytelling when you have video content.
No, you're absolutely right. I remember when I worked with my very first company, even though it was a closed link, I think on YouTube, but it helped me as a salesperson sitting there with people from those online aggregators. Because back then, online leads was only like 28%. This is back in 2011 of your total lead counts. And so I saw that and seized it. And my thing was speed to lead, get to them first. Because if it's coming to me, it's coming to like 5 other people. But then we had something where it was a link. So based on whatever that person said in the discovery of what was going on in their life, we had 3-minute videos, like 2.5 to no more than 3.5 videos that addressed some of those caregiver stresses.
Oh, nice.
And I could link that to this and say, hey, I saw this because this is what this person from such and such lead aggregator told me. I thought this would be helpful. Give me a call. I got the calls. And I think that first year, I was like number 1 in internet conversion.
Nice.
Because you had to find a way of connecting with those. And obviously the speed was amazing. But number two was, how are you going to connect with that person when you can't see them? You haven't talked to them, but what was going to set me apart from everybody else? So I have been utilizing videos, to be very honest, since early on. And it has always been super effective for me and for some of my team members who does it as well.
Oh, I agree. It's to the point now where we try to get so creative. And I think that's another thing that really separates our agency from like just your typical, say, video production company. Because I've been an entrepreneur for so long, I feel like I really have a great sense from a holistic approach. So marketing is just one facet of business as far as running your community. Like, how does your marketing interface with your sales process? And that's another thing. You'll be surprised how, we'll represent a multi-million-dollar a month community, and their sales process has a couple of holes in it. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's just what they know. So when you can implement a process that's even more efficient and has even more data, then they're just super thankful. So that's another service that we add on to our marketing is we do a lot of CRM management, because when we build our itemized landing pages and those leads go into that landing page, we want that to automatically flow into a CRM. We then have it set up to where sales and communication manager will get a text message alert. So now she can stay on top of those things.
Wow. Awesome.
Oh yeah, because you hit
That
it
is
on
really
that.
good.
Yeah, speed is everything with online.
Absolutely.
Because if they're filling out your contact form, you better believe they're filling out another contact.
Sure.
So yeah, so we put in place little tools like that really gives them a competitive edge. And one more thing I want to highlight as far as from the video content and us getting creative, because we know we have so much data that shows the impact of video content. Now, picture if an interesting prospect wanted to, say, take a tour at your facility. This obviously before COVID-19, right? But say if we wanted to take a guided tour, we have a video that the marketing communication manager has created that will get sent out to that person via link. And the video will have a tone similar to, "Hello, how you doing? The reason why you're watching this video is because you just inquired about a guided tour. These are the things that you should bring. We're super excited to meet you, and we can't wait to see you in person." And so just a little personal touch, when an interested prospect just inquired, it keeps them engaged. So that's what we like to do. We like to have several points of contact in between the time they inquire and the date of their scheduled tour. So that way they're engaged. And all these little steps, all it does is increase the percentages as far as your close rate. That's really what it's about. Absolutely.
Hey there, podcast lovers. If you're on the lookout for a new podcast to add to your rotation, then you should definitely check out Aspire for More with Erin. It is hosted by the most talented and inspiring Erin Thompson. This podcast is all about helping you reach your full potential and achieve your dreams. With each episode, Erin shares insightful and practical advice that you can apply to your own life, whether it is in your career, your personal growth, relationships, or any other area you want to improve in. She's an expert at helping people unlock their inner potential and become their best selves. And you won't want to miss out on her wisdom and her guidance. With many years as an executive director and inspiring her team, she has really focused in on what it takes to have self-improvement in your life. And it's fun and engaging to listen to. The best thing is that Erin is also one of our coaches for our Compass Rose Accelerator program. Erin's friendly approach and her wonderful tone makes you feel like you're chatting with a close friend. She's insightful and fascinating. So what are you waiting for? Give Aspire for More with Erin a listen and subscribe today. I am sure you will not regret it.
It's funny you say that, because there is a company who serve the senior living market, and they do videos for emails. Like, so you sign up for them and the person does the video and it goes directly into the email. And it's interesting because I just spoke with someone I know in the industry who works for a company, and through COVID, right, her salespeople aren't moving people in. They've decided like right now is not a good time to try and move people in because of the high number of people in the area that has tested positive. So she was frustrated. She's not the ED. She's just a business office, not just, but I mean, she's a business office person, but she's like, my salespeople, we got this thing, we're paying for it. They won't do a video. I'm asking them, just do the video. And they're like, nobody can come in. Nobody can do a tour. So why are we doing a video? And she's like, do a video of the residents. Show what we're doing. She's like, that's a part of the brand. Like, what are you doing? But she had a sales background. So she did sales. So she knew how to sell. And even though she's in a business office, but she's just like, I can't believe we are paying for all this. And they won't even do a video. So it just goes to show you where having something like from you, where it's pre-done for them, because not everybody, even if you have the tools, if you don't have the will, the knowledge, or the passion to do that thing to make it happen, it's not going to happen. It's a waste of money then, right?
Oh, Tiffany, you hit it on, and we come across this all the time. And a lot of times, say if you had the will and you had the knowledge, video in 2020 is important. A lot of times they just don't have the bandwidth or the capability to implement. Like your executive director, the owner, marketing communication manager, none of them know how to whip out a camera, fix the ISO, to edit the video, run ads, set the campaign. Like no one knows how to do that. And so
You're right.
so we work hand in hand with the marketing teams and with the marketing directors, because a lot of times they may have a vision, but when it comes to the technical execution, they don't have the ability to perform. So that's why we have strategic. I know.
I'm taking classes and I'm learning, but it is a little bit of a learning curve. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Absolutely.
but to put it out on a website or something like that, I'm not sure that I would be like confident.
Then there's the quality aspect. Right. And it's just one of those things to where that's really what we do. Like we form a partnership. Like we don't say clients. We have no clients. We only have partners. That's really what it is. Engage with us. And so what we do is we alleviate all the marketing responsibilities associated with digitally marketing your community. We alleviate that responsibility so you can focus on your core competency. Get the lead, call them up. You know how to talk to them. You know how to give guided tours. You know how to engage in customer service. That's your lane. That's your core competency. You focus on that. Let us come in on a regular basis, shoot the content, shoot the video, deploy the video, and just having access to a team like ours. One of the competitive advantages is just having a soundboard to bounce ideas off of. Like, for example, this whole COVID thing, this went down and a lot of communities like, oh my goodness, what do we do now? So what were we doing? Like, we were like, okay, let's go out and we're shooting videos outside now. Now we're not even interacting with the residents. We're outside. So you still see a little bit of branding with the signs. And we're shooting videos, getting out in front, being proactive, addressing like, this is what we're doing to be proactive in the midst of everything going on here at this community. And then not only interested prospects, do they love seeing that, but then the residents, family members, they like to see that the caretakers taking care of their family members are taking these steps. So creating content is so important as far as conveying what you're doing. And so when you have a strategic team in place who can just come in and execute on a regular basis, then it really streamlines that process.
It's content, they say, is king, right?
Oh, yes.
And the thing is, it can live, like you said, forever. So if you're doing it, a lot of times things, especially if it goes viral, whatever have you, it comes back for you and into your favor. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah. So we always have a saying, you're one campaign away of just blowing the roof off to your community, because one campaign that catches a lot of eyeballs. We have a video right now, which in the ALF space is unheard of, and we're like at 1.3 million views. And it's like, yeah, this is not a cat video or when someone tripped the crawl. It's just because we know how to rush strategic ads. And so we get a lot of shares, we get a lot of engagement. And it's like real engagement. It's like people commenting like, oh, that lady was cute or something. And so just the pure nature of the internet, the way people share and comment, and now you're getting all this free advertisement because now they're sharing the content for you. No one's going to get a mailer. Oh, let me grab this and drive it over to my aunt's house. So it's so easy for people to share.
Yeah.
And yeah, so content is king. It's really where it's at. It's the best way to convey your message.
Because one of the things that there's two sides to this, right? And so me working in a community, I know over time you're working there, you pretty much stay there as a salesperson like all the time. It's your second home. So your residents are family to you. And what I see is same thing with the resident program directors, the activities people, it's the same thing, right? The nursing is the same thing. So what I have found in social media is that we take pictures of the resident 85th birthday or the residents playing bingo together. It's touching because it's touching to us. But just putting the blanket picture, let's say on Instagram or Facebook, of residents, sometimes with a funny looking hat on, that doesn't always resonate with people on the outside.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, as far as what I see that's working, Tiffany, is when you have a hybrid approach, right? So, every campaign that we run, we love to have layers. So, layers are simply just different video assets. It could be pictures, it could be videos, motion graphics, or a variety of different layers that convey the same message. So, when we work with our partners, we teach them and encourage them to take pictures similar to what you're talking about. We give them different lighting tips or whatever, how to be efficient with your iPhone. And
That's
then those candid, what we call native organic content, that intermixed with polished, more thoughtful content that our team create. When you hybrid both of those types of content together, it creates the best type of timeline that people can go and scroll down.
because then you also have a story. Like a lot of times I say, Mrs. Smith is celebrating 85, blah, blah, blah. And then that's it. And then you're like, and I get it. You know what I mean? But people on the outside, unfortunately, their view is not the same. And so that is where I think what you do is so important because you have to have that story to go along with that picture. And it's just so static, right? And so I think that is super cool. There was something that
Right. No, I was going to say that's like actually one of the products. That's actually one of the products that we run. So we do what's called a resident spotlight video, where we'll literally highlight that resident. It
not
could be, say, they're an old war veteran, or they really love cooking, or whatever their pastime hobby is, and then we'll just highlight that resident, and you'll be surprised how that storytelling really resonates with someone who is interested in finding a place for their love.
nice. That is really nice. I can see how that would be really huge. The one thing I wanted to go back to, which I thought was super interesting, was your three-prong approach. Because what I also find just in the senior living space is that most, and I can't say most, from my experience, I'll only talk about mine, and I've worked for a really large company and a pretty small one. So let's say I did both. You're having someone who understands all the targeting marketing, understands digital video, storytelling. A lot of these communities don't have a full department for social media marketing. Usually it's a marketing person who does everything or
Run the activities with the activity director
and
and do marketing and do sales.
right? Yeah. So usually it's the community person who's running activities, who's posting on these. So I don't find that the messages are congruent. Does that make sense to you?
Oh,
So
absolutely. They're not even thinking like that. They're not even thinking about messaging. It's like they're being reactive. So it's like, oh, someone's birthday, take a picture, post it. Oh, today's the Easter bunny egg, take a picture, post. So there's no strategy. Like,
yeah,
so as far as the three steps that you're talking about, step one being strategy, like we literally sit down in our initial consultation and we come up with a strategy. Like, what are the key messages? One of our communities down near Rockledge, Florida, they have individual cottages. Each cottages have about 10 to 12 residents that stay in it. There's no elevators, it's all ground level. And that's one of their key messages they want to convey. They're not like these big 15 floor buildings where community cafeterias where everyone's eating together. Like, this is family style dining, small tables, small groups of people. So these are key messages they want to convey. So we make what we call a marketing roadmap to where we identify all of the key messages. And every single month, we make sure that we hit our key messages. So that way, when someone scrolls down a timeline, they're getting a little bit of everything. And what they don't even know is we're literally brainwashing them to say, wow, this community does this, they do that, because we're always making sure that we're checking off every box as far as what makes this community stand out from the rest.
and that is so important because, like we were talking about, there doesn't seem to be a strategy. Now, I did also hear you say every single month. So how does that work? So it's not a one and done deal with you guys then.
Oh, absolutely not. So say there's a lot of communities who have no video whatsoever on their website. So depending on the engagement model, the way it typically works is we will go out and we'll shoot what's called an initial media mix. This is going to cover your overview main video that is usually sits embedded on the homepage of your website. You pin it to the top of your Facebook page. That's an encompassing overview video of your whole community. Then we'll do one, say, like on the culinary aspect. We'll do one on the amenities. And so they can have videos on different parts of the interior pages of your website. So all your basic videos, it'll be like, say, about 5 videos. So we'll do that as far as the initial media mix. And then depending on the client, our partner's budget, and our engagement model, we can go out there every month. We can go out there quarterly. We can go out there every 2 months. We can go out there on an itemized per basis, and we just charge them a flat rate depending on how much they need it. And so that way they're always getting fresh new content. And on top of that, to take it a step further, their marketing team can also, we use a software program to where their marketing team can upload content through their cell phone, just upload the content, and then we edit that content for them to jazz up the cell phone footage. So we can put titles, we can color correct it, we can put graphics. So that way, even from a branding standpoint, even the cell phone content has a certain look and feel that's congruent with the rest of the content that we're creating. So we go out there on a regular basis. We help them with their editing. We, of course, post on behalf so they never have to worry about stopping what they're doing to whip out their phone and post online. We do all the posting. We go and we get so much content in one day that we can go back and edit it and trip it out in a systematic way for 4 weeks, 8 weeks at a time. And then we go back and we get more content. So it's just one of those things where content is always fresh and we're always going out there.
That is really cool. I am super excited. The other thing I saw is, and I think we addressed it a little bit, but you talked about the business to business and using LinkedIn as opposed to the business to consumer. So explain that a little bit more on how you target each one and what that looks like, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely. So you take a senior living space and 9 times out of 10, you are targeting family members of ideal resident for you. So say the ideal resident is 80 plus or just sub 80, say as far as the age range. And then, okay, how old are their kids going to be? So you take that age demographic, and a lot of times those people that we notice data wise, they're on Facebook, right? That's where they communicate with their friends. That's where they're sharing pictures of family members. So it's usually the children and even the grandchildren of the residents. And both of those age demographics are on Facebook. So because Facebook is the ground, they spend all their time. In fact, up to 4 hours a day is like the new average for people of that age. That's where we send our content, and it's a no-brainer. So, and then we do a hybrid model when it comes to that. So we run Google ads, and then we'll also do our target marketing through these social platforms. And the reason why we do that is because that's where they're at. If we're doing a B2B, say we're a digital agency and we're trying to attract businesses, the decision makers are usually on LinkedIn, and that's where they're getting their content and exchanging a lot of things. Do we have campaigns where we're hitting both LinkedIn and Facebook? Absolutely. So it just really depends on the business. And it just so happens when it comes to senior living,
Right.
Facebook is the most successful.
And the thing is, that's where I found it was on LinkedIn, right? Because I think what people, again, this is just me being the maverick that I am, is that most caregivers are still working. And so they are on LinkedIn, and yeah, they are decision makers for business to business. But if you can create an impact, because on the local level, at a community level, you want the person who is that nurse or that professional physician and, that elder law attorney, you want them to refer their clients to you. Right. And so by having something on LinkedIn where they can see you and they can say, I don't know much about this, but I know this company, this is who I see all the time. Right? They put out good content. They put out good information. And so now you're building trust. And I think for the trust building, I think even LinkedIn might be a little bit more deeper because of the way the content is shared there and the type of content. Would you agree with that?
Tiffany, absolutely brilliant. Yes, you hit it right on the head. So you're talking about creating content specifically, say for referral pools, which is brilliant. Taking a LinkedIn approach for your referral pools is a brilliant approach because that's where those caregiving professionals are. So if you can create content that has a tone similar to, hello, how you doing? My name is Tiffany. I'm with this community. This is what we specialize in. This is what separates us. Then you're going to be top of mind when that working professional is like, oh, we should think about referring the seniors that we work, say it's a rehab center, right? They work with a lot of senior individuals who's kind of teetering that line, whether they should get placed or not. It's like, you know what? I just saw this ad and they keep talking about they do this, this, and this, and the physical activities they do. That's the type of content you would want to target, say a physical therapy or rehab clinic with is look at our activities program. Look what we do to stay fit and active in the way we eat. And so you would target them with that type of content so you can stay top of mind. But yes, you are correct. That's a brilliant, what we call a referral approach.
Right. Because I'm just thinking like, just from one person I know who started doing videos, I think only, I like to say she may have started in January, maybe December, but I've noticed her followers have grown exponentially from her doing videos. And she does informational, like education. Hey, this is, her name. This is where I'm from. I have this many communities, but she goes into, and she has the titles. It's like, what's the new is not always what's important. What's important is the care, right? And so that's her thing. And she talks about what they do to do care. And while they're not the prettiest and the newest, this is what we do that makes us different. And and the stuff she says is really simple. It's not like rocket science. We know every resident by name. We know this. It's very simple, but it's a great message. And I just noticed that her views have increased. Her connections on LinkedIn have increased. And the questions that people send to her in the comments or the things have increased. So I know for me, even just observing, I referred a sales manager to her just because I don't know much about how they practice their business, but I do know this. So even in the recruitment process, having those type of videos could help you get quality people to be recruited to your company as well. Am I correct in that?
Absolutely. We do HR campaigns all the time. We have a partner out in Virginia where they pay us for 100% HR recruitment. And you would be surprised that a lot of campaigns that we run are like right up there with ZipRecruiter or Job Monster. And it's like, not only are you creating branding by having your content out there on social, but it's actually recruiting because of the storytelling mechanism is more vivid when it's on social opposed to say a job. So so we run HR campaigns. If a community needs a certain type of nurse or caretaker, activities director, we'll run HR campaigns right on social media. So it works just like it works for customer acquisition. It works for HR recruitment as well.
So really, if I hear you correctly, Mr. Cameron, the only limitations in what we could do in terms of marketing and reaching out to either is the new employees, to other professionals, or to ultimately the possible residents and or to the influencer is the limitations we put on our own selves. Because by what you could really help with all of that. Because I think when I think about strategy, I'm thinking there's a strategy for each thing. If I had a senior living company, those are the things that's important is telling the stories and all those things. And you do it all through the posting. So you follow up the CRM management, you do videos, you create the content. So am I right?
No, you know it. You know it. It's a one-stop shop. And that's why our name is what it is. Be complete because we understand that today's era have to take that complete approach. So many communities, all they do is build a website and think SEO is going to work. Well, SEO is just like all that other form of marketing. As soon as you stop paying, you're going to lose all that ranking. There are no shortcuts. You have to create a brand. And we call it the lighthouse effect, right? So there's tugboats and there's lighthouses. Tugboats are the people where the only time they move the needle is if they mail out those mailers, and if they do all this old school marketing and it moves the needle, as soon as it stops, then you're not moving anything. But when you create a brand, then you become the lighthouse where literally people come to you because they're like, oh, I heard about that place. They're that one community to where they're playing ping pong with their seniors and they have tournaments and they're doing the senior Olympics every year. So it's like you have to tell those stories to create a brand. So
Right.
literally people start coming to you.
That is so good. That is so good. Man, Cameron, can you tell me anything else that you would like to add first? That, I know we talked a lot. We're both
Yeah,
talking.
no. I just want to be clear, and I definitely want to give the decision makers in this space credit. Is if you don't know what you don't know. And so
That is so
a
true.
and I love the senior living space. And one thing that I personally want to change, and that's why you and I kicked it off as soon as we started talking, is because you have the same type of passion. But I want to bring new, innovative, cutting edge technology to this space because the better that a senior living space can leverage technology, then the better quality staff they can recruit, the
Right.
better quality, like the more revenue they generate, then the more programs they can have that's going to impact the residents. And so there's so much upside when you implement a new way to be creative and grow. And I just want to give that to this industry because I feel like it's so underdeveloped in that sense. And so whatever we can do to make a change, then so be it.
I am so excited to actually even partner with you guys to do that, to bring your messaging. I thank you so much for being on the podcast. But even more, if people contact me, I want to be able to send them to you as well and have them further that conversation so that we can get them moving in the right direction. So I'm super excited.
Yeah, Tiffany, and I'm super excited for you because you have so much experience in this space and you really notice like how it evolves and then sometimes the lack of evolvement.
Yeah.
So you have great insight and your vantage point is unlike a lot of individuals in the space. So the fact that you have a good grasp on marketing and the importance of a new version of marketing in an underdeveloped industry, you can see the type of impact could be had. So I just want to say kudos to you for taking the initiative. You're such a strong force in this industry. So just thank you for having me on the show. I think we both are one of those rare, like, I don't think like someone like me is not one of those things where the way I got into it, I never was like since young, oh, I really want to work with senior living individuals and be in that space. There are some individuals where that's what they set out to do. They have a grandma who inspired them or whatever. But once I got in it, I absolutely love it. And I think it's just the competitive nature, maybe growing up playing sports, but I want to win in this space. Like I want to just change it. I want to have huge impact. And we have this little goal of ours. We want to be the most prominent senior living marketing agencies in the country. And it's such a rare goal because like who does that? But it's like we would be so proud and honored. So like, yeah, like that's what we're known for. And just make it fun, make it cool and make it exciting and make it engaging. And this industry needs that type of energy. And so like we feel like we're the company who's going to bring it.
Oh, you're absolutely right. The thing is, there's so many stories to be told. People just don't know that it's out there. They think a nursing home, and I'm like, that's not senior living. That's long-term care nursing, but that's not senior living. This space is very vibrant, and so most people that I run into didn't grow up like you said and say, "Oh, this is what I want to do." But once they got in, they love it. Their passion is for it, and they want to see, ales this industry because it is going through a kind of metamorphosis. But they want to see it to grow and because it is growing. It has this just because of demographics and numbers, but to develop, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, to be all that it can be. And because at the end of the day, when I do this, and much like I think I hear you saying as well, is when you impact and when you make a change in this industry, that means it's lives. Just like at COVID, we look at those numbers and we're like, wow, that's a lot. I noticed over time people get more desensitized over it. But when you say, oh my God, 700 people has fallen ill just in 24 hours and have passed away just from this one disease, not including all the other things that life brings you and others. And I think when I think about senior living, there's so many people could benefit from it, and it helps them. It helps people live longer, and it helps the caregiver. There's so many other attributes of senior living. And so when you're saying we want to win, I don't think of it as a financial or motivation. I think of it as every win means it's a life that you have impacted.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head. You know how great it makes us feel knowing that we did a resident spot video and God forbid the inevitable happened, say that resident's no longer with us, but now the family members of that resident has that video forever now. Sometimes the last video, the last memories they have of their loved one is the content that we created. So you know how great that makes me feel? Like I look back because I literally sit and I interview the residents there. Like we'll do it. It's nothing to do with the project scope, but it's like we get permission. Everything's released out, and it's like we'll interview them. And like these are memories I get to have now that I can show my daughter. Look what your daddy does for work. Like this lady was 106. Like, and I got to talk to her and I got to learn from her. And it's like it's awesome. And so just to be able to document that whole experience and now you have it forever, you're right. The impact is through the roof.
I do. I love that. So tell people, how can they email you or contact you?
Yeah. So you can just go to imgcomplete.com. We have a single landing page. It's a contact form. And then the reason why we build our website is because we really like to practice what we preach. Like we do target marketing. So we go out, we get the customers that we want and we bring them back to our landing page and they fill it out. And then we just want to interact. Let's get on the discovery call. Let's see what your needs are. Let's see what your goals are. And let's see if we're a great fit and kind of just go from there. So imgcomplete.com, fill out the contact form and let's get on the discovery call.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cameron. I so appreciate your time. I know you're super busy with all that's going on, but
absolutely. I was looking forward to this because it's not every day that someone has a podcast in the senior living space. So to me, it was a no brainer. I was like, yes, finally a voice. So thank you for having me and I look forward to continue to work with you as we go down this trail and this adventure in this industry.
That's right. The Trailblazers.
Let's do it.
That's what my group is called, Change Makers. And that's what we're doing. We're making changes in people's lives and in the industry.
Perfect name, because that's exactly what you're doing. So I love it.
All righty. Have a good one.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Cameron. I know I did. It was such a pleasure meeting him in 2020. So since our original meeting, Cameron and I have joined forces and decided to collaborate, my marketing agency and his marketing agency, since he does things that I do not. And so you just never really know who you're going to meet in the social media space. LinkedIn is a powerful platform. If you're not on it, I encourage you to really dig deep and start stalking and being a lurker in the beginning, maybe, but then start to participate. It is an amazing tool to connect with other professionals. And since we are in that professional space looking for referrals, it is a great place to network. Amazing. In the meantime, I would love for you to like and or follow the podcast, whatever your podcast player suggests that you do, so that you can get alerts on new episodes as they come out. And if you don't mind, share the podcast with other sales professionals in our space, that there is a podcast that is created just for them. So if you have suggestions or topics that you would like for me to cover on the podcast, go to Start With Occupancy on Facebook or Instagram and DM me and put the word in their podcast and then what you would suggest. That way I can kind of go through the DMs and I know if I see the word podcast, I know that is from you, my podcast listener, and it will allow me to really identify your DM to me personally. So thank you again for everything, and I appreciate you guys.